Part two. Let's do this. I loved y'all's questions with my experience with motherhood so far. Y'all asked a lot of questions about my birth experience. I definitely shared my birth story. And after recording the Q&A, I realized I wanted to share more with you guys about where I'm at in my headspace when it comes to motherhood. It really depends on the day. It depends on the hour, but it's definitely been a shift. And so I wanted to share more on things that I'm doing that are helping me just feel, I hate to say more like myself because I've changed. I'm not the same person I was before, but things that I'm doing that are just helping me feel more connected to myself, helping me reconnect with myself, as well as bond and connect with my new baby, my husband, other people in the world, because it's been a shift. I shared a short video on like TikTok and Reels that was talking about just postpartum and how I don't recognize my body when I look in the mirror. I have days where I feel very disconnected from the outside world. I feel like since having a baby, my circle got smaller in a beautiful way. It doesn't mean that I don't care about the things that I previously cared about. It's just when it comes to my values, I'm goal-oriented to the point of like, what's going to be best for the family. I'm shifting into like, how can I do both and what can that look like? Because I realized with, my unique opportunity with having my own business, with coaching clients, everything is online. I have the flexibility, but even though I have the flexibility to work anywhere and everywhere, is that really what I want? Do I want to even work? Do I want to do this? And taking some time, I realized like after my client coaching calls, I do enjoy working. I love all this. I'm still new into the mom life, right? We're about 4 months in and some change, and I'm enjoying so much of motherhood that's not something I want to delegate. So as far as things that I've been talking about with myself, my partner is like, okay, well, what do I want to take off the table? What can we delegate? I've talked to you guys about this when it comes to self-love and your love languages. One can be acts of service and how you can give yourself an act of service by delegating stuff. And I, at this point, don't want to delegate childcare if I don't have to, right? So instead of that, what can I delegate instead? Well, someone helping to clean up around the house, someone doing grocery store pickup, all these things that I've kind of shifted that are going to save me time and create more space for me to spend time with my baby, with my family, but also with y'all on the podcast. So looking forward to coming back regularly on the podcast and looking forward to just taking this next chapter to talk about getting confidently uncomfortable. I was talking to Alex about this when we were going over future episodes, and it's just like thinking, okay, I'm in this space right now. I feel I'm having to coach myself, just like I do with my clients, back through different stuff. My routine can't look exactly the same, y'all. I'm not waking up and journaling every morning. I'm not waking up and immediately doing a 30-minute meditation. Do I find time for that? Yes, I do, but not in the same way that I was before. And every chapter is going to look different. But in this current chapter where we're at with this fresh baby right here is taking things a day at a time, finding ways to connect with myself. And that's what I'm going to challenge you to do wherever you're at in life, to slow down and reconnect with yourself and allow yourself to audit where you're at in life. If you haven't done an audit before, I help people through them where we figure out what are the things you're looking for in your life? Where do you feel like there's a disconnect? And I've had to do my own audit in life. So that's really what I've been focusing on lately when it comes to just myself. So my number one client has been me right now, and then my other clients who are with me working. And so as far as motherhood goes, this is a journey that I want to take you guys with me. We're getting confidently uncomfortable in motherhood. And I was recognizing in the beginning, I was feeling anxiety about like, I'm not going to be able to do all the things I've done before. I was scared that everything was going to change, and everything did change, but you don't have to be scared about it. But finding ways to get confidently and comfortable in motherhood. And what I mean by that is I wanted to feel expanded through motherhood. And so I actually have started a challenge where I'm doing adventures. I call them adventures, basically getting out of the house, getting out of my comfort zone in a new way every single day with me and me and Emmett, or me, Emmett, and my husband, or meeting new people, or just me. Like basically anything that's uncomfortable when it comes to this next chapter of motherhood, I'm getting back into it. So I might be going back and doing things that I did pre-baby and seeing how can I do this with a baby? How can I still make time for myself? How can I do all these different things? And so the challenge of doing that is huge. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just America, but like you kind of feel like an inconvenience when you have kids. Like it almost feels like everywhere you go, you're like having to apologize for a kid being a kid. Literally, if a baby starts crying or a toddler is running around, it's like that's so normal. I don't know why we feel like we have to have this like tightened up version, and that pressure on moms, it makes you not want to go out. It makes you not want to go anywhere. And I'm just kind of saying, fuck it, and let's just figure it out together. And so I've noticed through the starting of these adventures, sometimes things work out as planned and sometimes they don't. And I'm just having to learn to roll with it. This kind of is going to transition into the questions that you guys asked about, like after giving birth, what life is like now. Just having to roll with it, learning to really go with the flow. I am breastfeeding. That was a question some of you guys had. I am breastfeeding and I'm loving it. It is, I'm not going to lie to y'all, it is very painful. It is very painful at first for me. It took a while. I got those silverette cups, the little like silver cup things you put on your nipples. Boom. They were very helpful. So thank you to whoever recommended those to me. I can't remember. You put them on your nips between like feedings and you feel like a robot. Like you feel like you have robot boobs, but it's so worth it because it just makes you feel so much better. So yeah, breastfeeding is very interesting. You're having to go with the flow of like what the baby needs, but I'm wanting to not let that keep me so tightly wound. So there are so many different apps you can use with feeding times and nap times and everything. And I downloaded one app and I haven't looked at it since. That stuff honestly overwhelmed me. I'm lucky enough to where breastfeeding, like his weight wasn't a problem. So as soon as we got the okay about like, okay, you're good on weight, I stopped kind of tracking how long he fed for and all those different things. I just made sure his poop was regular and he was eating somewhat regularly. The other thing is you learn about wake windows. Wake windows are basically like at what age they are, how long they're going to be awake for. There's a range, obviously, but it was helpful for me since the beginning, understanding their wake windows. So obviously, as they get older, those windows increase. So when they first are born, it's like 30 minutes, 45 minutes tops, and they're needing to lay back down and get a nap. But they also can, nap anywhere. So that way you can kind of keep an eye on like, hey, they've been awake for a while. We're at a wake window where it's like an hour to an hour and a half. We're at that hour and a half to 2 hour mark wake window now. And that's where we're at while I'm holding Emmett recording this podcast. So we're trying to bounce him to sleep a little bit. But knowing that it kind of helps me to where I'm not feeling overwhelmed, but I just know, hey, we're getting towards the end of his wake window. He's probably going to get a little fussy. Probably is going to want to go to sleep soon. Let's get in the car in a bit, or let's hold him because, you just start to be more aware. So that was probably the most helpful thing. The other thing is like, if you are breastfeeding, knowing which boob to be on. There's like an app to say, oh, I just breastfed with my right versus left. I just use my hair tie. And if you can try and feed them on both breasts, that's what my doula suggested, and burp them in between, that can be really helpful. So coming back to just different things with where we're at with motherhood, I said in the last episode, we didn't have his name picked out. We didn't know if we were going to have a boy or a girl. I am absolutely in love with not only him, but his name. Tom liked it. We're debating between a few others. And then we looked into the meaning of the name Emmett, and it means universal truth. And it just felt right. In the middle of the night of his first night on Earth with us, we picked that name, and it was just awesome because it was just the three of us in this dark little hospital room, little beeping going on in the background. And it's just like Emmett Cole, when we said his name, it was just like, that's perfect. His name sounds perfect. First name, first, middle, and last. I love it. Yeah, it's pretty exciting. Also, if you're into human design, I'm not looking into his sign right now. I know he's a Sagittarius, but he's a reflector. Human design is that he's a reflector, and they are the most rare of the human design types. Only about 1% of the world are reflectors, and they are here to show others who they truly are. So I just felt like God just really put his name with us being universal truth, and then the fact that part of his purpose here is to show others who they truly are. It's just pretty cool. So yeah, I have only gotten more obsessed with this boy in the 4 months that he's been here. So some of y'all were asking, what were the moments right after birth like? So right after he was born, I told y'all he came quick. If you haven't listened to the birth episode, go listen, but that boy came quick. It was honestly like a fever dream. He was born at 2:46 in the morning, and I had already been laboring for like 2 days, so I was kind of sleep deprived. So I definitely felt like I was in a daze at the hospital. We were in the hospital for 2 nights. I just remember it being such a beautiful thing right after birth. It was just really, really special. Our first night together was pretty cool. Being in the hospital kind of sucks because they're just checking on you constantly, but it was still manageable. It was still really sweet. I think our first night at home with just the four of us, including Kima, our dog, that was something that was a really special moment. Like I said, when I was laboring, all the Christmas lights were on. We had our Christmas tree. That was one of my most exciting like visualizations when I was doing meditation preparing for birth, was picturing bringing my baby home and holding him underneath the Christmas tree. So of course I got pictures of him underneath the tree. And he is a December baby, so just when it comes to motherhood, I'm already thinking about like how I want my kid to be celebrated, and I talk to all these December babies and I'm like, "Do you feel celebrated when your birthday's near Christmas?" And a lot of them say they feel like they get gypped. So this house will be celebrating half birthdays. He will be celebrating his half birthday in June because December 20th is 5 days before Christmas. And I want to celebrate with family then if that's what they want, or just us, which is fine. But like, I want him to have like the kid birthday parties. And just because he was born in December, I don't feel like he should be robbed of those memories of having birthday parties at a pool in the middle of the summer. So we're going to do that. That's just going to happen. And yes, I know it's crazy that he's so small and I'm already thinking about this, but I have middle child syndrome where I have felt forgotten. So I just never want my kids to feel forgotten ever. Another question was, how do me and Tom communicate each other's needs? When, I've helped people with relationships when they have a new baby. I've coached them through this. And when you're going through it on your own, it's a completely different thing. Everyone's relationships are different. Everyone's dynamic is different. But the way me and Tom work, we're great communicators. And even being great communicators, it can be hard when you are sleep deprived, when you're tired, when your hormones are everywhere as a mom who just gave birth, to where sometimes you don't even know what you need or how to communicate it. So to preface what we needed, I talked about the communication I wanted in the hospital. He was the one communicating with any and all of the people that were texting us or whatever. It was just all through him, which was really nice. As far as what I needed, I think I talked about this last episode. I'm getting everything mushed together, but basically having him think about like, when did I eat last? I did prepare some frozen meals. We also did a meal train where people were signing up for days and times to drop off food. And the whole thing of it is that they drop it off and, coordinate the time so that there's not overlap, but they're not expected to like come see you and the baby. So we waited till like January, till after Christmas, and everyone was in town to do that. But that was so helpful. Just in the beginning, when you have a newborn at home, you don't want to be cooking, you don't want to be cleaning, you don't want to be doing a lot of stuff. I honestly I did the 5-5-5. The first 5 days I was in bed with Emmett, and Tom was doing a lot for me. The next 5 days I was kind of walking around the house. I remember trying to take a walk and it was actually a little bit too much for me, and my doula told me to bring it down a notch and not walk for another few days. And then by the final 5 days, I was able to go on some short walks, still staying around town for the most part. I'm so grateful that my husband had paternity leave. He had time off. I think that really helped us to get a better idea of how to work together as a team when it comes to having a baby. And that was really helpful. I think it's helped us in the long run. The biggest advice I can give to moms is like, let them stumble over things and figure things out. Like, yes, you can help and like talk through stuff if they're asking. Maybe even say, hey, do you need my help? But I wouldn't recommend just being like, oh, I'm going to do it, like, because you know how to change a diaper or you know how to do X, Y, and Z. Or, I mean, honestly, let's be honest, if you're the one feeding the baby, a lot of times you're the one that's going to be able to stop the baby from crying. But I will say he is really good at rocking Emmett to sleep. And it's because he has had the practice, because I'm usually just whipping my boob out to get him to sleep. And Tom is able to actually take the time and patience to rock him to sleep, which is really sweet. I think that kind of goes into the next questions. People were asking about, how do we share responsibilities? It's changed since he's gone back to work, and that's been an adjustment too. When we first started, he was home with us. So if you have your partner home with you, that's awesome. But when he was home with us, I felt like I got a lot of time where I would feed Emmett and then I would hand him off to Tom so that Tom could burp him and then I could take care of myself because I was usually having to go do something. So like immediately after birth, like every time you go to the bathroom, you have to use the Peri bottle, which that was another question. Like, did I use the little bottle thing that's like a Peri bottle that sprays a spray bottle? Yes, I filled it up with warm water every single time I peed or went to the restroom for like the first 2 weeks, honestly. I think you could probably get away with a few days of it, but I just did it because it just, I don't know, it just felt better. And it was like, I didn't have to worry about being uncomfortable while going to the restroom. I think I said it in the last one, take your dang stool softeners, take them. Please just take them. I'm so glad that I did. I had no issues and no pain. And so basically I would feed him and then he would burp him. And if he needed to be changed, change him. So he was doing a lot of the diaper changes. He still does a lot of them if he's not at work. That's his thing when he comes home, is like getting him ready for bed. But since going back to work, it has shifted as far as responsibility. And so that's been something where when changes do come up, when your baby gets older, when things start to change and you can't lean on the same routine that you had before, I really just think having a time to sit and meet with your partner and talk through like, hey, here is how I feel right now. Here is where I feel like I need some support. And that's been really helpful because I honestly didn't know what I needed in the beginning because it was just such a big adjustment for me. And now that I'm figuring out like, hey, like I'm trying to figure out myself. I want to, connect with more people in the community. I signed up for a women's entrepreneurial meetup in our new city. I signed up for a women's moon circle. We had like a moon ritual. And those are both things that I did on my own. And it was really nice because those are things that I was able to refocus on my goals, and it still includes my husband. It still includes my baby, but I get to do it for just me. And that feels really good. So that's something that I think has been really helpful. Another question people asked was, what are you doing to make sure your mental health stays in good standing? Checking in with myself, allowing other people to check in and take care of me. In the very beginning, I had a lot of people checking in, which is great. Had a lot of people, bringing food, and my sweet sister-in-law, like she came and like cleaned the house. My mother-in-law was so helpful. My mom, just like all the people that came were just very helpful. And they were also very supportive of me waiting until he was older for them to come visit, just because that's what felt comfortable for me. So as far as what makes sure my mental health stays in good standing, I had to be okay with the possibility of upsetting people. I had to be okay with that in order to respect my own needs and boundaries. Coming from a recovering people pleaser, that shit's hard. It is hard to stand firm in your boundaries, especially when some people feel entitled to visitation, entitled to hold your baby, even if it's a random stranger, right? My friends were so sweet, and they were like, my mom friends were like, if you decide later on that you don't want someone to hold your baby, even after you said you were fine with it, it's fine if you need to take the baby back. A really good communication thing. My husband was so supportive with me as I told him that if someone's holding the baby, and this was when he was very young, and it's just, when I would hear Emmett cry, it physically, like my body just couldn't handle it. And especially if someone else was holding him and he started crying, I didn't want anyone trying to comfort him. I wanted to get him back as soon as possible, but I also didn't want to seem like a crazy bitch of a mom, which I didn't want to seem like that though. So basically the understanding was, anytime I'm calling myself out here, so anyone that's listening, sorry, but this is what happened. If you're holding my baby and you cry and then the baby cries, my husband is going to find a reason to grab the baby, like, oh, I need to change him, or, oh, let me grab him real quick, check his diaper, blah, blah, blah. He gets him for me, and then within a couple minutes, he's handing him over to me. And that is because my husband respects my boundaries and is not going to question, if I'm feeling a certain way. It might sound a little crazy to other people. It may even sound crazy to him, but communicating that that's something that I need was all that I needed. I communicated that. He helped support me in that. And y'all, it was a win-win. It really helped me not have full-on breakdowns. I had a couple times where I did have breakdowns, and I realized it was because I was allowing too much beyond that. So I had to come back into like what feels best for me just in this current space. And it changes. Now I have a, 17, 18 week old. And I went and had lunch with a friend the other day. And as soon as I got there, I handed my baby off and was like, hey, I'm gonna go to the bathroom. Like handed him off immediately, unfazed. So it's okay for you to feel differently in different periods of your life, in different week to week, day to day, hour to hour. It's fine. And you're allowed to change your mind. You're allowed to shift your boundaries. But as long as they're aligned with what's best for you, what's best for your family, what's best for your kids, then there's nothing wrong with that. There's no reason to feel bad about that. And that's been a really good lesson for me. And that has helped me with my mental health. My husband's been really sweet in checking in with me, Just a quick reminder that postpartum anxiety, postpartum depression, those are things that can and often happen with moms. It's kind of comical, the care that you get postpartum, especially in America. I could talk about this all day. It's crazy. You are told to rest. You are told to rest and not lift anything heavy, especially if you had a C-section. I did not, but you're told to rest, get good rest and sleep when the baby sleeps and all this other advice. But they also are like, also you have an appointment tomorrow at 7:30 a.m. at the pediatrics office. And then in 2 weeks you have another appointment with them. And it's like, okay, well, I was told I'm not supposed to drive. So I don't know what I'm supposed to do. And, if I hadn't had Tom, like what would I have done? It's just crazy. The way things work in America are interesting. I have a friend that just had a baby in the UK and they do home visits. So after you've had your baby, which my doula came and did a home visit with me, but like literally all of your doctor's appointments for the next 12 weeks, they are coming to your home. They're checking on your baby and they're checking on you. And that is not the case here. In America, they're like, I'll see you in 6 weeks to give you the green check for sex, which is also bullshit. And that just drives me crazy. So if you were in the same scenario as me, my advice to you is check in with yourself, listen to your body, be your own advocate. I immediately reached out to my doctor and asked for pelvic floor therapy before I even saw her at the 6-week appointment because I knew it was going to be a while to get in. I was right. It took a while, but it was so worth it. I didn't even have that bad of tearing or anything like that, but it helped me so much. It made me feel more comfortable. I was able to recover faster. The things that I learned in PT were just really good. So that was awesome. As far as getting someone to help you with some of those appointments after, that would be definitely something, like asking for help, maybe having people come over to support you because that is really hard after. But yeah, so it kind of blows my mind that that's the case, but that's the way it is right now. Hopefully things change in the near future with future generations, future moms, future parents. Okay, this question. How is motherhood spiritually, emotionally, and physically? Physically, it is demanding. I have never had more back pain than I have now. If I could give you one exercise that you should work on before you have kids, it would be a Turkish get up with a kettlebell. You can also do it as a dumbbell, but a Turkish get up. I was thinking about this because of how many times I'm getting up off the floor while holding my baby, supporting their neck and doing all that. A Turkish get up is one of those moves, those exercises that helps you be able to just function in life. So if I were to give any advice, is do more Turkish get-ups and do more front-loaded exercises where you're holding weight in front of you. I think it's laughable that when I was pregnant, I thought, oh my gosh, I can't wait to, when I have this baby, I'm going to feel so good. I'm not going to be carrying around all this weight anymore on my belly. So it'll feel so much better for me to go on walks and go on hikes. And now I'm literally hiking in this thing, this carrier where the baby is literally on my belly right now. So it's the same old game. I just don't have the same pelvic pain. That rhymed. So physically, it is quite demanding. Emotionally, also demanding, but very rewarding, especially right after. It is a whirlwind of emotions. Your hormones just play a huge part. I encapsulated my placenta, in case you didn't know. Look into it. Talk to your doula. Talk to a doula about it. But I'm very glad that I did, because when I was feeling these crazy fluctuations with my hormones, with my emotions, with even my sweating at night, I consistently started taking my placenta pills, and they just really started to even me out, and it made me feel good. I don't have anything else to compare to, but it worked for me. So the emotions behind having a kid, I love it. Y'all, I love being a mom. I can't believe this is going to be my first Mother's Day. Well, second. Last Mother's Day, I was pregnant, and I actually drove all the way to Wilmington, North Carolina to tell my mom that I was pregnant. So that was a really special Mother's Day. And I was so nauseous. And my birthday's in May, and I was just nauseous the entire month. So I am so looking forward to not being nauseous. I like being a mom more than I like being pregnant. The people that love being pregnant, kudos to you, but man, it was not for me. So if you don't love being pregnant, don't assume that that means that you're going to hate being a mom or hate having kids or anything like that. I actually really like it. Sleep deprivation, I would say in the beginning when they're newborn, it was definitely hard. Now, I feel I don't know, we're getting more of a rhythm. I'm getting more consistent with sleep. I'm allowing myself to sleep more. I saw a study where women are supposed to get 10 hours of sleep. And so I'm not forcing myself to wake up at 5 a.m. I'm going to sleep earlier and I'm getting more sleep. It's great. So if you can get the sleep, go for it. But I also kind of hate when people ask you how you're sleeping. I did a whole TikTok on that. I don't know. It's not really helpful when you ask someone how they're sleeping. Like, what are you going to do? I don't know, nothing. Emotionally, spiritually. While I was pregnant, I had a lot of really cool spiritual experiences where I just felt very connected to myself, to the earth, to my body, to God. And I would say the same with labor and going through birth. I think that was a very spiritual experience. Spiritually, I was able to really connect with myself. I was able to connect with my body. I was able to get into my body. I was able to lean onto my intuition and what felt right. And so that was the coolest experience of being able to almost have a primal experience with birth has allowed me to feel more connected to, I guess, the world. That sounds weird, but like I feel more connected to other moms. I feel more connected to myself. I think you can have these kind of spiritual experiences in other ways besides childbirth. So I don't ever want someone that maybe isn't choosing to have kids or can't have kids to feel like they can't also have a surreal, magical, spiritual experience. I absolutely think you can. There are definitely other ways to connect with things spiritually, but just being able to be that portal from essentially the heavens, from the universe, bringing a baby into this world is just such a cool experience. So I just feel like spiritually, I'm recognizing that everything will work out the way it's supposed to work out if you lean into your intuition. This lesson I learned from my labor was to lean into my intuition, trust myself, trust my body, and it's going to work out for the best. And it really was. It was a beautiful experience. It was a spiritual experience, and I'm very grateful for it. It connected me and my husband more than I ever imagined. Like we were already like real tight. We've been together for a long time, over 15 years, and he said to me he's loved me more than he even imagined, and same to him. And this baby has brought us closer together. So I think people give you this fear of like, oh my gosh, it's going to be like you're with a roommate, you're going to fight all the time. And I don't know. I think you can work through fights. You can work through things you're talking about when you're going through hardship, when you're going through adversity, and when you're going through beautiful things like having a baby. And it's brought us close together. Just to finish up these questions and close out, the question of postpartum care. Postpartum care is important. Look up different forms of postpartum care. Look up traditional Chinese medicine forms of postpartum care. I used a lot of different things. So I had a yoni pot where I did like a yoni steam. Just Google it before you look at me like I'm crazy. That was really helpful just for me healing, and it felt really good. It was very, very nice for me to do. I waited a week and then I started doing it. So obviously you do it on your own accord, check with your health professionals, but that's what I did. It worked really well for me. I made pad sickles. I made with using a pad and aloe, witch hazel, and I did use those postpartum. They're very helpful. You can also get the Frida, Frida, the Frida Mom version of those. I think those are great too, but I loved making them on my own, and I used them for, I think, at least 2 weeks. They were very helpful in my recovery and just healing process. It was great. Having a heating pad was very helpful for labor, for recovery, for being home. Definitely having a heating pad was great. Having a good water bottle with the straw was awesome, but I also got another water bottle that closes as well. You're just going to want to drink a lot of water. Having snacks at the hospital were really good. Someone asked a question about what am I loving on the registry? So that's postpartum care. Let's talk about baby care and things like that. Things that I'm loving. My exercise ball I used for pregnancy, and now that is how I can rock him to sleep. So I do have a rocker actually in this room that does like the swivel rock and like glider, I think is what they're called, gliders. I don't use it that much, but it's really cute and comfortable. We got it as a gift and I'm very grateful for it. The bedside bassinet that I have was really great because it actually zipped all the way down. So I was able to reach over and reach out to him. It was just a lot easier to grab him than a lot of the other bassinets that are like very high up on the sides. Like when he was a tiny baby, he's not climbing out of there. It just was very, very comfortable. So I loved that one. If you guys want to know about that, you can ask me later and I'll send you the link to that one. Other things that I really liked, we got a swing from Tom's coworkers, got us a swing and a little baby swing. That's really good. I like it. I don't know if I would have paid for that myself. I feel like I would just swing by using my body, but it was nice to get your hands free. Let's see, are there any other things? The Baby Bjorn is like the little seat that you can put your kid in, and that was really helpful for when I would shower, when Tom went back to work. And Emmett is a Velcro baby to where when he was very young, he wanted to be on me constantly, and I'm okay with that. So we made it happen, but there were certain times like I want to take a shower, I want to have a second to myself. So putting him in the Baby Bjorn or the swing were both really helpful things back in the day. Now that he like is super into tummy time, I can usually set him up in his crib or on a tummy time situation and like while I'm going to the bathroom or while I'm doing something. And so that feels really good while I'm working out. So I don't know. And then baby carrier, definitely number one is like the baby carrier. We have 2 different ones and I'm going to be getting a third one that's a little bit more breathable for him for the summer. I absolutely love it. I love when Tom uses the baby carrier. It's great. Also, having a car seat that clicks into the stroller has been a game changer. I'm so grateful for it. I couldn't imagine not having that as an option. Obviously, choose what's best for you and your baby, but that worked really well for us, just transitioning him in and out of the car, or if we're trying to go somewhere and he was sleeping, we were able to keep him in the car seat, and it works really well. So yeah, those are the main things from the registry. I loved for the baby shower. We didn't know if we were having a boy or a girl. My sweet friends were awesome with setting that up, where we had a little tie-dye station for onesies where they tie-dyed all these different sized onesies. And we've actually grown through the first like few sizes, but we're into the 6-month sizes of the onesies. But it was just really nice to have those as like easy, quick options. We didn't have to deal with big old outfits during the day. And I honestly didn't have decision fatigue. It was just like every day was tie-dye and it was great. And I didn't have to stress about it. So big fan of that, having pretty basic stuff. Also, if he shits on a onesie that's tie-dye, it just looks like more tie-dye. So I didn't have to stress too much about stains, which was nice. Okay. The last thing that I want to end with is just questions about like my body confidence and feeling confident in my skin. And, I mentioned this challenge of getting confidently uncomfortable. Y'all, it is uncomfortable being in this new body. It is. I've done a lot of work. I've done a lot of inner work with connecting to myself and my body, but still, I don't think that people tell you sometimes the things that can change that can be like jarring. You're like, I didn't know why that's happening. And then as soon as you talk about it, people are like, or doctors or anyone are just like, oh, that's normal. That's a normal symptom. Like something really random. I have postpartum eczema. So I have a lot of eczema going on my hands. I never dealt with that before. So that's a little bit annoying. Your body, when you're giving birth, when you're preparing for birth, you literally had to make room for this baby. So your hips can get bigger, your ribs can get bigger. And after you give birth, that doesn't necessarily all like quote unquote snap back, which don't even get me started on that phrase. So you're kind of like, why, I gave birth, but I'm not really in my old clothes anymore. And I've lost weight, but I haven't lost, all the weight that I gained when I was pregnant. And it's also weird because it's been a long time since I've intentionally gone about losing weight. So doing intentional weight loss, a season of wanting to lose weight, and being in this current season of breastfeeding, I don't want to lose weight in a drastic way. I don't want to lose weight to where it's affecting my milk supply in a negative way. So in the beginning, I just focused on my mental and emotional recovery. I started to do things that had to do with my pelvic floor. I started to do more Pilates and walking. You're walking with a baby. It's a great workout. Don't get me started. So, I have lost weight. And if this is triggering to you, I'm sorry, but I want to tell you, like, it's okay. It's okay if your body doesn't go back to where it was. It's okay if you've gain weight, all those different things. Like that happens in different seasons of our life, whether you're pregnant or not. Your weight's going to fluctuate. It just does. But being in an intentional space where, I am working to lose weight because it's going to be easier on my joints. It's going to make it so I can move and keep up with my kids and do all those things. So there are good intentions behind the weight loss, but there is a weird pressure around the quote unquote snapback. I told y'all when I was pregnant, like a lot of people felt like they had the right, they were allowed to comment on my body when I was pregnant. They would be like, oh, you're carrying really well, or XYZ, oh, I didn't even know you're pregnant, and they'll say the other things to people. They'll be like, oh, you're due any day now, or oh, you're about to pop. Those kind of comments aren't helpful. But even after giving birth, people wanting to say things like, wow, like you look great after birth, but like maybe you lost weight and you actually gain more weight down the road, or, so then you're like, okay, am I not good anymore? Is it bad that I gained weight? No, it's not. Like it's okay for things to fluctuate, and that's something I'm reminding myself. And it's okay for you to focus on different areas of your life first if you need to. I'm grateful, that I'm healthy. I'm grateful my baby's healthy, and like every day things look different. My body is starting to change. I'm getting more comfortable with it. I'm reminding myself of all the amazing things my body has done for me, and that's been really helpful. I have a little song by Mother Moon, that's I Love My Body that I sing to Emmett, and it's like singing it to myself. I'll share it maybe on TikTok or Reels later, but having that has been really helpful. And, allowing myself to focus on taking care of my body. And that really helps me to not feel like I'm on a diet or not feel like I'm trying to lose weight. And that's been very helpful to take the pressure off of that. And so, yes, my body is changing slowly and things are starting to shift. And I'm focusing on reconnecting with myself and my body, connecting with my baby and connecting with my husband, and trying to take pressure off of like back. So if you do feel that pressure, listen, shake that off, focus on what matters for you. But also, it's okay if you're in a stage of you are working towards eating healthier and moving more, and which can, it's most likely going to result in weight loss. And that's okay. Like, I don't want you to also feel guilty for losing weight, because if you've dealt with that in the body positive world, sometimes you feel guilty for losing weight. And, it's just figuring out what's best for your body and taking the pressure off of society either way. So we are figuring that out. We're working on taking away any kind of mom guilt that we're putting on ourselves or that we feel other people are putting on us. And we are focused on enjoying this current space because he's growing so fast. Emmett is growing so fast. I have room for a few clients, a few more like one-on-one clients, but I'm not really trying to like start anything crazy new. I have a few speaking events that are on the schedule for like the fall, but I'm not putting pressure on myself to have everything back to quote unquote normal, or, it's just not going to look like that. I'm basically just exploring what this new life looks like for me and reminding myself it's okay for it to look different in every single month. It can look a little different. I can take on more work. I can open up more spots for clients as I choose to. And I think I'm very grateful for that. I'm grateful for this time in my life right now. And I'm grateful for you. Thank you for being a part of this season. Some of y'all, maybe you're looking forward to this season in your own life. Maybe you've been through this and it's kind of bringing back memories. Or maybe you're just, you're trying to connect with yourself and it's helpful to hear someone else going through it too. So I am sharing more about getting confidently and comfortable in motherhood. It's not going to be all the content I share, but motherhood is a big part of who I am. It's not everything. It's not all of who I am, but it's a big part of it. So you will see some of that type of content, some of that type of stuff of where I'm at in motherhood, my motherhood experience. And I just want to be real with y'all and give it to you unfiltered. So hope that you're ready for it. If you're not, it's okay. You don't have to be. You can click on to the next thing. But I appreciate y'all for creating space for this, hanging out with me and E today, and ready for whatever this next chapter holds.